Okay, so please convene again. Now we'll explore some more basics about primary legal sources, which is subsequent to the previous class, what a court case is. Now that you have gained an understanding of court system and methods for locating court decision at the federal and state levels, I'll make some additional introduction about this point. Federal and state reporters of cases, so case reporters, federal reporters, they'll be available in our class materials from page 120 through 150, or perhaps quite long. You will be handy about the briefs in other excerpt. It is time to reflect on what these cases actually mean. So think about famous cases you may have read in prior civics or government courses. What features they have in common? What sets them apart? How did each case establish a precedent? How did the court decision affect government policies? My purpose in this week is to let you have some clue about this question. And I also hopefully expect to strengthen your understanding of how to use and interpret case law. It is strongly recommended that you write a formal case brief and analyze its related changes. So by the end of this week, you should be able to interpret case law, and you should be able to analyze challenges related to written case briefs. So this is topic which was briefed in the last class. Perhaps I will summarize for you follow-up purpose, finding cases in Westlaw and Lexis, finding cases using digest. So I introduced several sources to help you find the cases through digest. And another way to look at cases would be utilize annotated reports. So annotated reports from ALR, for example, make it shorter in some cases about your work to find a case. And also you will be available about resources to verify your research sources. So perhaps on page 110, 111, and in this concern, now I recall the Shepard citations online. Shepard is very similar to Keysight. It might rankle the Shepard people here, say that because Shepard was the original one and only case verification service in the print media only days. So it is traditional and often considered paradigmatic to arm yourself with law school studies, and practicing lawyers also been very indebted to separatization case. So it is based on that the jurists and legal professionals would interact to respond with their work and professional activities. Hard to imagine now, given how cumbersome it was to use them. Shepherds Online is standalone service, but it also may be accessed through Lexis. You will be shown in your class material for Lexis total research system, and you have a sign indicate shepherds and table of authorities, author site, Lex site. Then the catchphrase was displayed: research or validate citations quickly, easily, and reliably. Shepherd now integrated with Lexis, our headnote. So we have a usual scene about case searching or article search. Enter the citation to be checked, citation formats. So you need to have an awareness which expedite your process to look at the case. So the citation, okay? One. What does it mean? 303 if U-S 7 to 5. So the first number is for book assigned in order about federal case. US in this case means a federal case, and the last number would be pages for that specific book, and the case name should appear. In some cases you are only available for case name, and case name would come as last name. So last name is conventional to indicate the name of parties, and the order could come reversed to indicate the initiating party in that rank of a court. So in the appellate review, the plaintiff might be placed in later part after versus stand. So and also we would be conventional to put the year of decision, called 1998 or 2001. So the year indicates the case was decided in that year. The report will include chapters for validation, subsequent history, and citing references with analysis. Chapters for research, prior and subsequent history, and all citing references. To track future treatment of case, set up Shepard's alert. To request multiple citations, use get, and print. Shepard's Online provides direct history, the summary shown above, and citing references for citing decisions, and provides the parallel citations, if any, to the original case and the citing decisions. As with KeyCite, references to the point of law in headnotes are tracked. In this case, headnotes from the Lexis version of the case are tracked rather than the headnotes from the West publication of the case. Then, you may need to update your online KeyCite or Shepard's information. But that is not a case when you benefit from personal search analysis. The great thing about KeyCite and Shepard's Online is that the reports you prop when you check a citation are cumulative and comprehensive. You do not have to run the same size through multiple databases in the same way. that you have to pull multiple volumes of printers or shoppers off the shelves in order to check one citation. Thus, using the online version of this site checking service, although fee-based, may actually save your client money. What you pay for the online service may well be offset by the time saved in not having to pull and pull multiple volumes in order to check each site. So prepare to be quite systematic and automated, since the computerized is highly powerful, you consider. Of course, if your research lingers over the course of several weeks, or if you're in the middle of a lawsuit or the long-running legal project, you should recheck your authorities periodically to see if something new has developed in the history or citing references. So you made yourself be refined and more churning on the case itself and through the case history, and other citing references could complement to support and diversify your views and actually enrich your structure of thoughts in presenting your articles or memorandum of law forms. Finding other cases using one good case with key site or shepherds. Key site and shepherds are also an effective tool for finding other relevant cases, namely those that cite the good cases you've already found, and key citing or shepherdizing. And of course, the same can be said for the bad cases you find. Don't ignore them. Key cite or shepherdizing them to find the citing references for other bad cases that you need to distinguish and handle. This works even if you only have one good head note from a case. Key cite and shepherds will list and call the particular cases that have cited your case for the propositions stated in each of the head notes found in your case. So the head note service is typical about the commercial providers. For example, in the previous case, you can see some important brief in elements about head note. What the core terms were provided by LexisNexis: parrot, bird, animal, escape, domesticated, true owner, sea lion, nature, forest, exhibition, ownership, wild animals, capture, regain, canary, coast, several, not several, actually in extended number, although the case is in 2 or 3 pages, very short. So key terms would be asked to provide if you are author of law review articles or other pieces of research article about social science or psychology or others. The practice would often be required of 6 or 8 key term words. They will not be usual in the case head note provided by LexisNexis. And the head note also displays disposition. You see, judgment for defendant dismissing the complaint without cost. And the case summary is big title to cover procedural posture, overview, outcome, core terms. So you need to be reminded that the procedural facts and substantive facts are basic to be made distinct by yourself to understand the case. And procedural posture is an important strand to get you on what a extract convenience through the cases. So procedural, what is the procedure? So is it appellate case, and who actually appears? So in this case, you are now seeing plaintiff rescue filed an action in the private against defendant parrot owners for the return of parrot found by the rescuer. And also you have paragraphs in the title, subtitle of overview. So from this source of information, you can have basic information about the case, nature of case, and its facts, and some actually often be presented with facts, and outcome would be provided. The court granted judgment in favor of the owners in the rescue's reef-flagging action. And LexisNexis headnotes also allow you to the area of issues, so contract law, types of contract, rights of possessors. What are rights of possessors? So the order in this case would be ensured in response with the extent of topic. The contract law would be largest to cover types of contracts, and specifically in this case, rights of possessors were disputed about the lost parrot, who is entitled to the ownership right of parrot. It was domesticated and trained by public entities. Perhaps in this case, it was devoted to educational shows, exhibition. So the rules pertinent to your issue could be argued and would appear in the legal reasoning of court. And you see in headnotes, animals, lost parrot, based upon its unique characteristics, parrot found by plaintiff had to be one the defendant, ASPCA lost. A parrot, as parrot was domesticated, true owner entitled to its return from any person who found it. And you will have a name of counsel, in this case John Horry for plaintiff. Judges, the name of judges appear, Martin Rodell. So the part of headnotes would not be included as a matter of official structure about court opinion. So that is not actual part of court opinion. So you have court opinion right after the headnotes. So, for example, you see Chester is a parrot. He is 14 inches tall with a green coat, yellow head, and orange streak on his wings. Red spresses cover his left shoulder. Chester is a show parrot used by defendant ASPCA in various educational exhibitions presented to groups of children, and blah, blah, blah. So facts were presented. And in this case, the court spotted the issue in paragraph or articulation of expertise, from expertise. One is the parrot in question true is Chester, the missing bird. Two, if it is in fact Chester, who is entitled to its ownership. So you have no difficulty on your case brief work, and you have some number intermediates between words, for example 289 or 62 290. That indicates the page number of case. So the citation in for this published form of case is a 303 NYS 2D 288. So the latter part means page, the beginning page 288. It begins on page 288. Okay, so the number 289 indicates page number, and 2 this helps you to cite this case. So you may have need to cite the specific paragraph in your research article, for example, or court brief, or whatever. Then you may put the number to indicate the section or paragraph. And this case, as I mentioned, is exciting, especially useful to allow you they shoot it within this class purpose. So a common law system, so inductive reasoning. So it's called exercise great wisdom, perhaps on kind of experientialism. So they distinguish based on facts from many other hypotheticals, and the differences in context. So you now have the subtlety of a common law intelligence, and especially exciting would be a dicta now delivered by court. The court wishes to commend the plaintiff for his acts of kindness and compassion to the parrot during the period that it was lost. So actually, the care and management was delivered to the lost parrot during 2 weeks. So the food to subsidize the parrot was eagerly accepted by the parrot, in the court language, for example. And was gratified to receive the defendant's assurance that the first parrot available would be offered to the plaintiff for adoption. So I have made it prepared for your examination about the model case brief of this case. And in that case brief, the hypothetical situation was assumed, which is hypothetical, since I'm not a diplomat. As in the shoes of a diplomatic attorney, I was assumed to prepare for comparative case briefing of this case with Republic of Korea, the Civil Code of Republic of Korea. So I have illustrated several articles from the Civil Code 243, for example. You are available of that short summary of provisions which purpose to compare the rules of law in this case and the legal consequence on that provision. what I offered from the Korean sources. So please read carefully through the analysis. You see, for example, some perception from legal culture, different legal cultures and social customs and systems. So in your international trade law classes, you have been instructed that the uniform private law movement is on a pivotal to develop the autonomy of legal subject, or what I call international trade law. So some of successful achievement was being discussed. For example, UNSTRA, what is uniform sales law, and CISGN abbreviation. So the international private lawyers, who is famous and others, who often be committed to the kind of a private law initiative global scale. So you have need to make salient in that area of expertise. For example, my assumption was so. So please read carefully through the analysis and what's the point in comparison, and how does it entail any implications about legal history or legal system or the attitudes and judicial style of judges from both traditions. The kind of points of consideration was given as an assignment. So please consider. And you will see through the pages, for example, print sources, Shepard's citations in print form, and the codes used in Shepard's. So for those of you limited to the print volumes or simply interested in a bit of citatory history, Shepard's uses the following codes to explain how a listed case affects the case you are shepherdizing. Affirmed, criticized, distinguished, explained, followed, harmonized, or dissenting opinion. A dissenting opinion cites the case you are shepherdizing. For example, what does the word mean? Harmonized. In that concept, we will see the listed case differs from your case, but reconciles the differences between itself and your case. What does it mean? Limited. Listed case restricts the application of a case to specific limited circumstances. And what are the codes to make you expedient through the grasp of cases researched by yourself now? Modify, overrule, question. What does it mean? Parallel. This code means the listed case describes the case you are shepherdizing as on all fours with it. It finds your case directly on point in all respects. And reversed, superseded. What does it mean? Supersede. As opposed to lawyer case S, which means the listed case is the same case as the case you are shepherdizing. It's concept opposed to lawyer case S. Located. The code appear prior to Shepard's citation for the citing case. For example, the listing F939P to the A94 means the case found that 939P-2D894 follows the opinion you are shepherdizing. The listing D345F3FS616 means the case at 345F supplement 616 distinguish the case you are shepherdizing, and so regarding the point of law discussed in head note 2 of the case. So your small number 2. Here this refers to a stat note from the printed report of the opinion. As shown in the example above, D345 FS616, Shepard uses its own non-blue book abbreviation for asserted reporter. There is a table of such abbreviations at the beginning of each volume of Shepard. So blue book is most comprehensive and detailed deals in this area of concern. So the kind of indispensable manual for the law students and legal researchers. Then, can Shepard miss negative subsequent history? How do you compensate for this? Should the code alone be enough to cause you to doubt a case? And Shepard for non-cases. What does it mean? So you need to inquire of this issue in exploiting the Shepard's way of research. So then you will get it easier and handy on the Shepard's use. Shepard also exists for ALR annotations and for statute rules, administrative regulations, and constitutional provisions from the states and the federal system. So it could be extended into non-cases. And Shepard comes in many forms. So you need to be prerequisite of sources. Which Shepards do you use? State specific citators, regional citators, and federal citators. All Shepard list ALRs and law reviews, local ones and the 20 or so major ones the Shepard writes. Updating Shepard citations volumes can be tedious because the printed volumes are not cumulative. In other words, they do not repeat information previously printed by them. If a case is old, you will need to pull 2 or more hardbound volumes to learn the history of the case. Shepard does not use pocket parts to update their volumes. Instead, there are subbound supplements and supplements to supplements. Hence, when you are running a history, each successive volume of the newer bound volume through the interim paperback accumulation to the most recent paperback updates. Shepard does, however, give you a hint as to what volumes are needed to run a complete history of citation case. So, on one hand, it could be consistent, and in other way, you need to exercise your wisdom to make it comprehensive and available of all coverages through the complete history. The cover of the most recent supplement will tell you which volumes to consult to get the most up-to-date coverage. Thus, you will not have to search through a bunch of other volumes that have been superseded and outdated. So once I recall that the DINS command, what recall of DINS command, what Roscoe found, he actually stated futile sense that we have now was excessive volumes of all cases. There would has high potential to what actually debase the essence of case law system, and Roscoe found this what influential figure in American legal research, and he great scholar to collaborate with Hans Kelsen. So their collaboration would be the foundation to inaugurate the United States in many assessment, or at least in legal term. So now you have to work through the history of cases. Then shepherds would help you from a scope of course previously illustrated through pages. So you could seek them by using this more serving to your purpose, and also I now see it to be reserved for your follow-up review, and some basics that be delivered about leading cases, and so elements of case, procedural facts. So I have no way to stop this recording, so I have to finish now since my previous appointment. Sorry, the next class will approach. So what are elements of case? Before you can approach any case intelligently, you must be able to separate these component parts. So mechanical as this may seem, it is the only way to get a firm grasp on exactly what the opinion stands for. Sorting out different pieces helps to cut through confusion. But the skill is not acquired overnight. After reading enough cases, though, you can help but become an expert by investing some extra effort in the beginning, consciously identifying the elements listed below as you read the case. You can reduce the time it takes to become an efficient and knowledgeable case reader. So please train yourself to become an effective reader, and a competent reader is a critical component of lawyering process when you actually write down this information, you produce the hollow case brief. Where then, to what extent case briefs will be useful to you or consider later. But I now present between procedural facts and substantive facts. So being able to plot just how the particular case you're reading wound up before the tribunal, the wrote opinion is essential to understanding the legal system structure, how various codes interact with one another. So, what? So I now suggest you stop and smell the roses. Paradoxically, we have a rose garden in Joseon University campus. What does it stand for? What smell are those? So, what rich flavor? I advise you. You should not expect the details or any in-depth deals about common law systems, since we could be short of basics. Elements of a case. What are elements of a case? So I now on that subtopic, procedural facts and substantive facts, and also we have to you have to develop the skills to understand statutes. Statutes are important source, primary sources. The bit dealt in later week, and recurring themes would be important. Some legal motives are so fundamental that consistently permeate entire bodies of law. So these themes represent universal background issues that continue to shape the thoughts of judges and scholars even as the law itself changes. You must reckon with them each time you analyze a case. 330 recurring themes are described in pages, so remember them as you progress. You will undoubtedly discover others for yourself. So please consider this maxim, the slippery slope. The concept you will encounter repeatedly as a rudiment of legal analysis is the quandary of slippery slope. It is often introduced in the course of Socratic dialogue, a technique employed by professors to needle nervous novices and expose sloppy reasoning. As discussion of case proceeds, the professor selects a student at random. Yourself, for example. Your views on the case are solicited. The professor probes your analysis of a question to expose its weakness. You are then invited to reconsider, just when you think your newly modified conclusions have afforded you a means of escape. Your professor slices the salami ever more or thinly, proceeding to a deeper level of analysis and exposing the frayed edges of your reasoning that you still have not tucked away. The purpose of this exercise is not meanness, but mind sharpening. So as your reasoning is dissected, you and your classmates learn there are far more questions in law than answers. You must think twice about your conclusions before embracing them too firmly or categorically. So the critical legal researcher is one other concept to be complemented in this aspect. So, in terms of case briefing, you need to be critical, hopefully, since that would actually sharpen the quality of your legal research. The critical legal thinker is a thoughtful craftsman, applying his or her talents to analyze a case with imagination, diligence, and skills. Because the critical legal thinker is aware that all the components of a case intact form an interacting whole, he or she realizes that no one element can be understood with reference to the others. So the critical legal thinker would have the kind of point of deliberation. What cause, for example, for what cause is the case being read and studied? What is the name of the case in its proper legal citation form? What court at what level is hearing the case? And in what year was the case heard? And you need to narrow down yourself to the key procedural history facts, key plaintiff allegations, theory of case, key defendant allegations, theory of the case, significance facts as identified by current appellate court, key authority doctrine relied upon by current appellate court. So, for example, you need to inquire yourself, what key authority doctrine did the current court rely on, and why? Key interest at stake and published justification relied upon by current appellate court. So the judiciary is an important policymaker. The fact can bring any national consequence of policies and so. Main ideas of the case. So putting these all together, what is the main idea of the case? So the kind of thought process and what the exercise of your intellectual power is actually pivotal to become a critical legal thinker. Because of the web-like nature of judicial opinion, the critical legal thinker is aware that no one method will result in an instant identification or understanding of all the components of a case. Indeed, not only can the components be presented in any order, different opinions than themselves to different identification schemes. Still, the critical legal thinker is aware that the necessary first step in analyzing any case is to read the case carefully. So, it is actually there was an important wisdom through all the way you endeavor in law school, become a critical reader and also effective reader. And you now have some important insights through the pages about procedural facts and substantive facts. You will see diagram in page 28, a property associated remedies. So one case from hypothetical circumstances. And how do you deal with other section in your casebook. Issue, holding, reasoning, and dissents and concurrences. So, for example, in the part of reasoning, how did the court arrive at this holding? Was it applying or overruling precedent? Often trying to follow a judge's application of law to facts can seem like a treasure hunt. She may not announce a reasoning boldly. She may disperse through the opinion. The facts may be ambiguous. The lines separating a judge's holding, reasoning, and dicta are really distinct. For example, the court found for Deirdre Guilford because of free and easy hospitality which exists in New Haven at reunion time. So this was available in the early pages, and Deirdre was an alumni, one of the alumni called upon to reunion of Yale Law School, and of course, night time he incurred some personal injury about stories and what consequence to be brought about that injury. Actually, it was brought to the court dispute, dispute and brought into civil action. So that was once introduced, which apparently places a special burden on Yale to foresee the middle-headed peregrinations of every elevated, weak-bladed LR. But just how the university failed to meet this burden is never really spelled out in the opinion. So, what a attitude which might be basic about the tort law theory. What are they invitees or what licenses to enter the Yale campus? And please read it more carefully through the outline case. Understanding of court reasoning involves two analyses: the judge's own logic and conclusion, and his use of earlier judges' ideas in the form of case citations. A court that wants to get around the previous decision can read it narrowly, focusing strongly on the specific facts rather than the opinions underlying logic. Courts occasionally reinterpret the reasoning of their predecessors, supposedly without disturbing previous holdings or reasoning. At the other end of the spectrum, courts seeking to apply a previous ruling extensively may generously ignore significant factual differences or treat language that is quite plainly dictum as if it were part of the earlier holding. So this subtlety in factual differences would lead to a gross disparity in outcome, case law. So the Socratic method would be helpful to penetrate the kind of subtleties. So so exchange of communication in classroom challenging, but could be the process to breed a more competent lawyers eventually, I suppose. How do you consider the strengths and weaknesses of Socratic method in legal education? And the variations go on. Most often, courts choosing to apply precedent will remain true to the early cases reasoning and distinguish only when the facts are different in a legally relevant sense. But don't be too sure. So, I have to start here. Actually, I regret I have been short about our class schedule. Then let's in progress. In any case, the rest of contents and materials delivered to class would be for your further examination, for your further study. It may be regular that. Okay, thank you for your attention. Let's see in another class next week, Monday. We'll meet in person on our class. Have a good weekend.